Sorry about the little screw up with the time constraint, with the time thing, folks. I missed the 5 o'clock, so I'm doing it now. This is Match 2128 here to give his predictions for Ring of Honor's Death Before Dishonor 2023. Which will be coming live from the Cure Insurance Arena in Trent, New Jersey, tomorrow night. So far, we only have 5 matches on the card, but that's fine enough for me. I mean, the way Tony Khan has structured Ring of Honor this time around, it's more, because this is more of a supplementary brand AEW, it makes sense that many of the matches on these cards are going to be much more finite. And thus, to compensate, you have to make the matches a little longer, depending on what we've got. And I believe out of these 5, kicking it off will be the Ring of Honor World Tag Title Fatal 4-Way match. The champions, the Lucha Brothers, Penta, El Cero, Mierdo y Rey Fenix, con Alex Abrahantes, defend against the Kingdom, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett with Maria Kanellis Bennett. The Best Friends, Chuck Taylor and Trent Berreta, and Aussie Open, Kyle Fletcher and the returning Mark Davis. Now, what would be the best route to go with this? Do you let the Lucha Brothers retain the gold? Or do you give someone else a new run with the belts? If you're going to give someone new a run with the belts, then the Kingdom is essentially canceled out. Matt and Mike have won the titles twice in the past. So if it's between Best Friends and Aussie Open, I'm going to say crowns up. Aussie. Oi, oi, oi. That's my pick for this matchup. Next up, for the ROH Women's title, Athena defends against Willow Nightingale. Willow fresh off dropping the strong women's title at Independence Day in Corrigan Hall earlier in the month. When she dropped it to Gialua after just over a month and 2 defenses. And Athena's held the women's title for, let me just see how long she's been holding on to it at this point in time. 222 days. Making her the longest reigning ROH women's champ of all time, at least in the current iteration. So, who do I take to win this? Well, in my opinion, I think it's time to get the belt off Athena. I'm going to give it to Willow. Pull the trigger on this, Tony. There's nothing really much left for Athena to do, especially when you've been basically throwing jobbers at her on ROH. Let Willow take those chances now, get those opportunities now. That's how I say I do it. Katsuyori Shibata defends the pure title against Daniel Garcia. I mean, I was confused as to why Shibata is the pure champion. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's nice that Shibata's back in the ring, and I like it, but I prefer him to go back to New Japan Pro, or at least move up to AEW proper instead of being in ROH. But more so to the former as opposed to the latter. Because someone's got to set his former pupils who've gone astray straight. And personally, I wouldn't be surprised that if by Destruction in Ryogoku, Shibata comes back and he's got a bone, or at Wrestle Kingdom 18, he's got a bone to pick with David Finlay, and he'll fight him. I mean, he'll challenge him for that never openweight championship at Wrestle Kingdom. Provided, of course, David doesn't drop the belt by that point in time. I mean, yes, it would devalue Finlay if he loses the title at Wrestle Kingdom, but as a trade-off and as a consolation prize, it opens the door for him to go after the IWGP World Heavyweight title by winning the New Japan Cup 2024, provided we don't have to shut down due to nuke war or another deep state-induced bullshit pandemic. Which I do believe many of those who demand that we follow the bullshit signs of Dr. Fauci, including Fauci himself, deserve to be put to trial, convicted, and fucking executed for the 3 years for the near year plus of 3 years of livelihood that he stole from us, from the people of the planet. But regardless, I'm going to give this to Daniel Garcia because it also frees up Shibata. Samoa Joe defending the Ring of Honor television title against Dalton Castle. Well, with the boys, Brandon and Brent Tate in his corner. Joe currently sits as the third longest reigning Ring of Honor TV champ of all time, and second longest individual reigning champ of all time, with the second longest individual reign, or third longest individual reign, excuse me. Granted, Dragon / Ryu Lee's reign should come with an asterisk, as the bulk of it he spent basically locked up at home due to a certain someone enforcing draconian level pandemic enforcement. Pandemic adherence enforcements. Which I might point out, none of which worked. So technically third longest. I say Joe holds on to it a little longer. I mean, Dalton has actually one of the more dubious distinctions of having one of the shortest Ring of Honor World Television title reigns at 20 days. Actually, it's the third shortest in Ring of Honor history of the 25 guys that have held that belt. You know who has the shortest reign overall, folks? Will Ospreay. 2 days near the end of 2016. That said, I am taking Joe to retain the title. Finally, the main event for the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight title, Claudio Castagnoli. And here's who his challengers were supposed to be. Now, originally, he was supposed to defend against Eddie Kingston. But due to the fact that Eddie Kingston was picked to be in the G1 Climax this year and is currently wrestling the G1, that would have led to scheduling conflicts. So Eddie then handed his position of #1 contendership over to Mark Briscoe. The match was set. But then Mark blew his knee out last week, and thus he had to get replaced. And at Blood and Guts, after some miscommunication between Claudio and Pac walked out on the Blackpool Combat Club. Takeshita would follow suit when Don Callis got too worried about protecting his fucking meal ticket. Which proves that for the BCC, Takeshita Callis was in it for himself. He never cared about the Blackpool Combat Club's goals. And believe me, once Moxley the BCC and their feud with the Elite, Moxley is coming for Callus's fucking head. Mark my words. That said, last night it was announced in the 11th hour that the man taking the place of Claudio Castagnoli of Mark Briscoe in this match will be the Bastard Pac. And unfortunately, I do not see for the Bastard. He's not walking out of Trenton with the belt in hand. In my view, this is no more and no less. He's little more and no less than a speed bump on the way to Claudio versus Eddie at Final Battle. On December 9th, whenever that match occurs, wherever that match happens. Granted, I'm pretty sure we're not going to find out where Final Battle is going to take place until September. But I do know that the event will occur at some point between December 9th and December 16th. Probably going to be on the 9th, for those wondering. That said, my lock it up pick of the pay-per-view, to quote an old friend of mine who's long since vanished, pay-per-view picker 07, Neo, it will be Claudio Castagnoli walking in and out of Trenton, still the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion. I've got nothing left. Leave a comment, smash the like. And sub to my channel. This is Mets2128 signing out. Goodbye. Good night. Bang.